It's time for the Trading Stocks Made Easy podcast. Each week, Trading Stocks Made Easy demystifies stock trading and investing so you can profit big. And now, here's the host of Trading Stocks Made Easy, the wealthy investor, Tyrone Jackson.
Well, we meet again. You and I right back here for another episode of Trading Stocks Made Easy. Hey, it's Tyrone Jackson, the wealthy investor, saying welcome. Today's show is really about managing your money during retirement or very close to retirement using the wealthy investor approach. Now, I can't tell you, I am so happy to have this person in the studio with me. It is Patricia Giudice.
Hello, Tyrone.
Hello, how are you?
I'm great. Nice to be here.
Well, it's great to have you here. And I'm just going to tell the audience right up, you are a television commercial producer, right?
That's right.
Okay. Now, your whole history to how you got to LA and got into the thing called show business and started producing commercials is a show in and of itself. But what I really love about your story is not only how you found your way into the Wealthy Investor Program, but you are managing your retirement and about to retire soon. And you are basically comfortable with what you're doing with a few questions here and there. As you were saying before we started rolling, trading stocks can be very nuanced. But you're really here today to talk about, as someone who's going to be relying on the income you're generating from the stock market, your journey, right?
That's right.
Okay. So a lot of people who listen to the show are not in the industry. Can you just describe what a producer does? They see a 30-second commercial on television. They don't realize that a lot went on behind the scenes to get that final product. So tell us what you actually do.
Well, I worked as an executive producer on the production side. So I'm at a production company, and right now I freelance at various companies, and I have directors that are represented to advertising agencies who then show those directors' reels to clients. And those clients basically represent all the sectors we have in the stock market. And there's an idea from an ad agency that's presented to the director. I meet with that director. We discuss an approach, talk to the ad agency about it. I'll budget the commercial, lay out a production schedule and calendar of how it could be produced, and take it through production, basically to shoot the commercial. So we'll hire a casting director, location scout, DP, a director of photography, all the crew, set it up for the shoot. And then once it's been shot, we give that data to an editorial house, and they'll edit it and then do visual effects. Another sound company, a sound house, not us, but someone else, that then takes the music or they'll score it or do original music or needle drop, which is, they'll buy a track and put it on the air.
And all of that goes into just 30 seconds of what most people are seeing at home.
Or 60.
Or 60 seconds, right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we can go on about the business because I have a history in the advertising business, and so do you. Only you're a lot more important because you're an executive producer. I was just an actor in commercials. But one of the things I love about your story, you were investing a little bit on your own.
Yes.
In part because of the advertisers that you were representing.
That's right.
So you can get to see how much they're spending on a commercial, and you would say, wow.
Yeah.
Maybe I should own that stock.
Yeah. So, for instance, I was on set in London with an Intel client, and we were talking about chips. And he said, well, they're layered. So you have, and in that layer, each layer, there's maybe copper wires or circuitry, and then another layer to another layer. And I said, like puff pastry. He said, what do you mean? I said, well, you've got dough and butter, and then it rises, and then, And he says, well, I guess so. But anyway, I learned about all sorts of things, microprocessors and how things work in whatever the commercial was we were producing. And so I would decide to buy, stocks and see how they would perform. My instinct during the dot-com era, however, was that don't buy these. For instance, we produced one commercial that ran on the Super Bowl, and by virtue of running on the Super Bowl, they went out of business because they couldn't handle the influx of hits that they were receiving on the website.
Right. Who knew? That would be an issue if you have the money to produce an ad and buy it on television.
You've got to have the backroom support to accept that business and that inflow coming in.
Right. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Now, what's really interesting is most people don't know that, well, I guess a producer like you go from job to job to job. So
Yes.
you'll prep one job, as you mentioned, follow it from storyboard to full production, post-production, and then it's on the air. And then you're on to the next commercial.
That's right.
But what I love about your story is you've been very disciplined with money for a long time, not just the
Yes.
stock market, but your real estate investments as well. How did you learn how to do that?
I have no idea, except my mother was always buying treasury bonds. That was her thing. She's going to make 11% if they hold it for 3 years or 5 years, and she always made a big deal. She would dress up to go to the bank.
Is that right?
Yeah.
What, to make a deposit?
Yes.
Okay.
Or to, see what the rates were for T-bills,
Right.
what they call them.
Yes, yes.
That was her thing. And, it was just her behavior that way. And it wasn't like my parents invested in the stock market at all. They were really kind of interest-driven people.
Okay.
And my dad was a career Navy guy. We never traveled with him. We always stayed put, and he would travel and then come back. I think what happened is during my professional career, we would start talking on set. So, the cameraman might say, "Hey, what do you think about this stock?" Or our head of accounting would say, "Don't invest in that. It's too risky. Do this instead." And so slowly but surely, I started to get a little bit of knowledge, but not a lot. I didn't know how to evaluate anything.
And for those of you who are not part of the entertainment industry, which is most of the listening audience, when you live a life on set, as you say, you meet a wide variety of people from so many different backgrounds, and some of them are really good with money. Now, let's just be honest. Producers and camera people, you guys make a great living when you're working, right? And they tend to be very disciplined people, but you're working so much that, you're getting chunks of money that you can always put
That's
to work
right.
for you.
And so often, let's talk about real estate, for instance. When I bought my first house, I went through all sorts of conniptions, just so, afraid of, am I getting the right loan? Is this the right interest rate? But I would talk to crew people and, who have already bought a house, or maybe someone else was doing it. We could compare notes. So it was a very give and take, and our lives were basically open books, and there's a lot of time around sets to talk about that stuff.
Yes. And where did you grow up?
San Francisco.
Okay.
Right.
What part of San Francisco?
The Mission.
Okay. And how did you make your way to Los Angeles?
I was a film major because I wanted to do film, and I couldn't decide on any other area to major in that incorporated theater, music, art, writing, science, other than film. And I actually met a film major when I was in an English class and got to know a little bit more about that process. And so I majored in film and had friends in L.A. and nurtured those friendships. And that's where I wanted to be after I finished school, was to, leave San Francisco and go to L.A.
Now, at some point in all of this house buying and doing investing on your own and buying stocks, you hear about the Wealthy Investor Program.
That's right.
Okay. How did that happen?
I was sitting with Darcy Parsons.
Yes. Big time Emmy winner now.
That's right.
Yes.
And Darcy and I have been colleagues for many, many, many years. When she lived in New York, we worked together. I was in L.A., and I would hire her to produce commercials for us in New York. And then we met up again years later at yoga class. And so Darcy and I have always stayed in touch, and we're always trying to have dinner a couple times a year just to catch up. And she had said that she was taking a class in investing. And that stuck with me because at that point I thought, I've been at this company for like 20 years and I don't know how much longer it can stay around. So maybe I need to start thinking about what else I can do. And I have this nest egg that I had built, and I never really got along well with my financial investors. We would always argue because I would want to buy Apple, I would want to buy Microsoft, and they would say, no, get Yahoo instead. And so we had these conversations, and I like the idea of self-directed investments, but I felt that I needed to learn because the previous time I had self-directed my own account, I remember selling AT&T the day before it split, and it just crushed me. It crushed me. So I was prime and ready to take a class, and I had in my head that I wanted to give myself 2 years of real diligent studying, and that's what I'm doing.
Right. And you're making, quite a bit of money, actually, in your multiple accounts, and you're close to retirement, right?
That's right.
When do you want to retire?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I have a foot out the door and a foot in the door.
Right.
So I'm freelancing now so that I can experience what it's like to, wake up and not have to actually show up at work.
Right.
Of course, I'm finding other jobs to do.
Right.
But I'm giving myself some time to phase out of one thing and into whatever I'm going to be doing retiring-wise. And, I can only do so much yoga.
Yes, right, exactly. But stock market trading, I see you have your computer here. You log right into your account. So you're a shining example of someone who's close to retiring. You probably will never really retire because you like what you do so much. You just want choice.
Yes.
And you are making money in the stock market. And I'm just going to toot my own horn here using the wealthy investor approach.
Absolutely.
Now, you have a knowledge base that's beyond more than just trading. You understand the Delta 50. You understand we've been working on ratio rights these days and all that. But the first trade that I always teach is covered calls. And just so the audience can really understand your journey, when you first learned what a covered call was and that you could make money every single month in the stock market, whether stocks go up, go down, or stay the same, your reaction was what?
I couldn't believe it. I did it. And then I thought, I probably did something wrong. Let me backtrack. And I kept doing it and doing it. Then I started to do it too much. Then I had to slow down. And it was kind of like being given a Ferrari and learning how to drive it.
Right.
But, got to be careful with the gears.
Right. Yes, very much so, because you can drive a Ferrari really quickly and
right into the wall.
They're right into the wall, and so you got to slow down. But when you learned that there was this opportunity to make money every month, every week, was that amazing to you, or did it feel like something you should have known your entire life?
Well, no regrets. It feels like this is the right information at the right time. I've got the maturity. I can chill when it's not time and when it doesn't feel right to sell a covered call and just wait out whatever the trend is in the market. And I've also ridden price shares up and down selling covered calls.
Yes.
But I learned that it's like riding a wave. As it goes up and down, if you skip a beat, you can get out of sync. So I'm learning kind of how the market is a living, breathing organism and to appreciate it as such.
Yes. And you said one of the things that surprised you in this journey was this idea of a system of evaluating a stock. So prior to formally studying in the program, you would go a little bit more on instinct, and now you use a system. Tell us about that system.
Well, you teach a system in which we evaluate Dow stocks by looking at top-line yearly revenues and a growth stock by looking at quarterly revenues. Then we look at the float and see what size that is. We look at the volatility and we backtest volatility. So and obviously read the story and the summary, read the press releases of the company. And all of those things now create a picture of how that stock is going to perform so that your expectations can, be adjusted if it's going to be a highly volatile stock that people love, hate, are into, not into. And when you start to notice negative press that comes out and how that stock pulls back, how reactionary it is. So the wealthy investor system for evaluating a stock is very specific criteria that's pretty simple. And it's basically the criteria you would use to evaluate almost anything, but you don't really think about that. We kind of go on gut.
Right.
But this gives you, and for me, the security of saying, okay, the fundamentals are there. When the fundamentals are not there, it's you painting a rosy picture because the fundamentals don't support the cost.
Yes, and the stock potentially going higher.
Right.
And fundamentals are so, so important. They're not just about feelings, about look at what that company's actually earning and the pattern of those earnings. Because if they're not rising, we call them dates, they're just not a good date, right?
That's
you want to
right.
be dating a company whose revenue is constantly rising.
That's right. Or if there's a merger in place, we can see a stock rise. If that merger is on shaky ground, it starts to dip. That still doesn't mean it isn't a fundamentally good stock, but those are trends and those are events that have huge impact on the price of a stock.
Now, one of the things that you did not have to struggle with, which I see a lot of people struggling when they come to the program, is this idea of a mindset. And changing your money beliefs so that if you want $1 million, you can earn $1 million, right? Why was that less of a struggle for you? Did you have a millionaire mindset, would you say, before you came to the program?
I kind of addressed it in therapy.
Oh, is that right? Well, share with us a little bit of what you learned.
Well, years ago, I went to therapy because I kept thinking, why am I not having a great relationship? Why can't I meet somebody on and on? And then I got bored talking about myself. So I brought in my statement from Merrill Lynch. And we started looking at it, and he said, well, why are you in that fund? We could be here. And so we started to talk about money. And we talked about mutual funds versus stocks, a conservative buy versus – and so the therapist basically taught me a little bit about money and my relationship with money because I was always afraid of what if I lose my house? What if I lose my job? What if – I had like this cloud of the what if disaster looming over my head.
Yes.
And he said, you're in good shape. I don't know what you're worried about.
Right.
And so he could show me on paper I was in good shape.
Right.
And that's really what the therapy became about, is my relationship with what I've earned, what I have, and trying to believe it.
Yes. And, I come from a family, as I've shared, countless times, where I was raised by a single mother. And beliefs, in my house, if you were not physically busy, there was no way you were going to make a lot of money because people just lie at home and make money, things like trading. That doesn't happen. That's just not real. So my mother believed the busier you were, you had a greater shot of making money. And I think that we all are making a lot of money. And I think that we all have these beliefs that we have to uncover before we can accept how much financial abundance there really is out there for us.
Well, and it's enculturated. And even now, I'm a list maker. I know what I'm going to do tomorrow. I plan, open time to just muse. But it's been hard fought to get there because I'm also from a culture that is toil, just put in, a lot of hard work and be diligent and be organized and it's really more about, again, a system and habits.
Right.
And your mindset kind of dictates all of that.
Yes, it does. Well, thank you for sharing that story. Now, I want to get into this other thing because you feel like being in a group, coming to a class setting on a regular and consistent basis really supports you. A lot of people think that trading is this isolated thing that you're going to do from home and make a lot of money. And it's really like a group activity.
Yes.
Because it's the support from other individuals, in your case, students around you, that help expand your thinking. Is that right?
That's right. Well, of course, I had to call my friend Darcy to sit with her for my first trade because I was terrified at home alone.
Okay.
Everything I learned in class just started to crumble and I started to second guess and overthink. And so I sat with Darcy and she held my hand through it. But what's really great is that I text a few people in class and about a trade or about how a certain stock that they have is doing, if they have a strategy for it, how they're feeling, so that we can kind of support each other through the ups and downs and the volatility of the market. But I've found that these conversations and the whole money thread that runs through our consciousness supports us. And I would go to a deserted desert island with these people because they're very open and supportive, and just share knowledge. And whenever I can't figure out how to structure a trade or what percentage of profit I'm at, I'll text Chris or I'll text Darcy or Carrie, and it's fantastic to have just to know that they're thinking what I'm thinking. They're going through the same thing.
Yes.
And we're not alone.
Yes.
And it's not like we're trading as a group, but it helps the individual support that it helps me get confidence that what I'm thinking is not irrational or crazy, and they calm me down.
Right.
Or I will calm someone else down.
Yes. And, we do this in the live program all the time. We call them drills, and we're constantly drilling. If a stock were to drop $7, show me how you're going to make money. If it suddenly rises $7, show me how you're going to make money. And when you're in a very volatile stock, sometimes it drops and you have such an emotional reaction, you forget the technique. But we do go over that constantly. And the reason I bring that up is because you will be at some point living off of, in whole or in part, the money that you're making during your retirement. And you just handed me a sheet. You're doing pretty well. Do you recognize what a tremendous accomplishment that is? I mean, you're doing very well.
And this is the first year that I've tracked my trades. And because I just really didn't know how I was doing. I felt like I was treading water my first year. And now that I'm tracking both on paper and on a spreadsheet, I have different spreadsheets for each stock and each holding. I'm seeing on paper what these numbers are, and then I'm doing a tally for each month in each account, and it's mind-blowing.
Yes,
it's mind-blowing.
Yes.
But it doesn't feel like I actually know what I'm doing yet. It's so hard to get over it.
Well, you are earning 2 or 3 people's salary, okay, annually trading. So believe me, you know what you're doing. Can you believe that it's you?
No.
Okay. Why is that?
Because I still feel so insecure about it.
Okay.
So it's just taking time. And I realize that with each month and each quarter, each year now, I get more and more confidence, but it's like learning a new skill. You think you've got it mastered, and then the market will do something. That's why I said it's like a living, breathing organism.
Yes.
Because it behaves in its own way.
Yes.
No matter what I think or I want it to do, it's going to behave. So it's really about being flexible and with every fiber of my being.
Yes.
Just stay flexible. Let it breathe. Notice what it does, and and ride with it. And if it's like this week isn't that great a week for the tech sector, so I just don't look.
Right. And just realize in the long term you will be just fine because you've chosen really good
Because
stuff.
2 weeks ago I was really fine.
But of course we were riding high. But
that's right.
Listen, we know that there's certain periods that are seasonal in the market where the market does react, where the institutions take profit, for example, and so that's going to pull some of your stocks down.
And you're amazing with cluing us into that the traders go on vacation in August and take, the latter part of December off. So just chill out.
Yes.
Don't panic about every day that it's not meeting your expectation.
Well, there's someone out there listening, and they're saying, well, I'm close to retirement, and what I really want that person to realize is that they're listening to you. What advice would you give them about getting a financial education and using the stock market as a source of funding and having a comfortable life in retirement?
I think it's brilliant. I think it is the way to go. But give yourself some time. Don't put pressure on yourself by saying, I need this money right now. Give yourself the luxury, if you can, of time to learn, time to absorb, and time to allow the vision of what your retirement is going to be emerge.
Right. But there really is this way, instead of having your money in a mutual fund, for example, to generate income that is comfortable in your retirement in the stock market.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the first things I did was I got rid of everything I had in a mutual fund and just converted to cash. I had an annuity that had already matured, and while my eye was on the ball of my career, that annuity rose in money and in value, and it gave me a nest egg to work from. I also had an IRA that could another nest egg. So there's little nest eggs all over the place, and mutual funds served their purpose while my eye was, on my career.
Yes.
I just didn't look. And of course, had it been in stocks, it would have done way better. But that's the choice I made, and now I know better, and I'm dealing with it, and it's still really, really good and very sweet.
Listen, I cannot thank you so much for coming in today and sharing your story, being so close to retirement, and being a shining example of, if you're financially responsible over time and you get that financial education, you can have a very comfortable life.
Yes.
Yes. So will you come back and see us again once
you bet I will.
Once your accounts have doubled and tripled?
Yes. See you next year.
See you next year. That's Patricia. Thanks so much for Patricia coming in. And I get a little time with you right after you take a listen to this.
You're listening to the Trading Stocks Made Easy podcast. Want to learn more about how to trade and invest in the stock market? Visit thewealthyinvestor.net/products. That's thewealthyinvestor.net/products and order the Wealthy Investor's Guide to Stock Market Success audio series. This easy-to-follow 5-CD audio series and manual will teach you the basics of how to buy and sell stocks, how to collect quarterly dividends for life, plus hidden income generating strategies like covered call writing and volatility trading. Start creating financial freedom right now. Get the financial education you need to get ahead. Visit thewealthyinvestor.net/products.
And welcome back. Hey, I just wanted to leave you with a few inspirational words. If you listen to the Trading Stocks Made Easy podcast a lot, you hear a lot of inspirational stories. And I want you to know that people who come on this show are really just like you. They weren't sure about where to go with their investments. They started investing. Some people started investing in the stock market when they discovered the Wealthy Investor Program. But I really want you to know that your future is brighter than you can imagine if you do one thing, and that is keep an open mind and get a financial education. Hey, this is Tyrone Jackson, the Wealthy Investor, saying thank you for joining me, and I'll see you on the next episode of Trading Stocks Made Easy.
You've been listening to the Trading Stocks Made Easy podcast. Be sure to rate and review our show on iTunes. While you're on iTunes, be sure to click the subscribe button and you'll automatically receive our next episode.